The zoning formula proposed by Governor Ugwuanyi-led People's Democratic Party Zoning Committee is still facing backlash from those who want an open election for national offices during the convention of the PDP. The committee had zoned the post of national chairman to the north, effectively paving the way for the emergence of a presidential candidate of southern origin to contest the 2023 elections. However, there are fresh agitations over which geopolitical zone in the north should produce the next chairman of the PDP. Although party members in the north are yet to agree on which of the regions should produce the chairman, the dominant opinion seems to favor the north-central geopolitical zone. Irrespective, a socio-political group, the Atiku support organization, has rejected the recommendations of the Ugwuanyi-led committee. According to the group, the recommendations negate in all fairness, the entrenched principle of equity, fairness, and justice in the party, as captured in Article 7, Section 72C of the PDP Constitution. In a statement, the group noted that the North had occupied the chairmanship position of the PDP more than the South, adding that all of the 6 geopolitical zones, only the Southwest was yet to produce a chairman of the PDP since 1999. Joining us now to discuss the PDP zoning formula and its impact on former Vice President Atiku Abubakar's desire to contest for the Nigerian presidency for a record 6th time is Segun Sowunmi. Sowunmi, who was a spokesperson of the Atiku Abubakar Presidential Campaign Organization in the 2019 elections. Good morning, Segun, and welcome to the show.
It's nice to be here. It's nice to see you all.
Well, Segun Sowunmi, too many things to talk about.
I can imagine.
But don't let me start with my own, questions. Somebody as Tunu was, introducing the conversation. Says, don't be associating PDP with Sowunmi again. You come and campaign for Yahaya now. Good morning, Diary. Okay. Don't worry about the diary.
No, let me worry.
The diary part. No, the diary part.
No. I will worry about that.
No, don't worry about that.
I worry about that.
Can you define your bona fide?
Let me worry.
What is wrong with you people?
No, I understand.
I'm just reading something.
Let us go straight to that.
You're willing after the show.
You see, sometimes ago, your platform had invited me to talk about how young people can take a charge into politics. And on that program, if I recall very well, I tried to lay an example of how young people can assess what I interpret to be the presidency, because I'd already laid the foundation that young people are already doing reps, young people are already doing senate, some young people have been governors. But that if the conversation was the presidency, that there were like 3 routes to it. I told them the route of coming through the party, maybe becoming governor, and then working with the party, where I use, and I still insist, Yaya Bello as an example because he's young. I showed them the route of moving behind the movement, standing behind the likes of Shore and Rotori. If they are that interested, I told them that they should recall what the result and that outcome was. And then I told them the route of them using their big numbers to take any of the small political party, fill it up with themselves, put their numbers beside it, and run. Incidentally, it was purely a conversation around what is the pathway for young people. And I did say that I'm not exactly old myself, and we've been at this for a long time, that sometimes it takes a whole lot more to be able to even be within those that can be captured. And I said they were better off looking at the 2 parties. And somehow, people have imagined that if Yaya Bello wants to be president, I think it's up to the Nigerian people and his party to determine whether he'll make it at the primaries, and then they will take a fate on that. But as far as the PDP is concerned, I have been in PDP since 1998. It doesn't matter what was happening around me, even in my state, with some of my very strong friends and followers, some of my strong leaders. I have unapologetically stayed in PDP. Not because I don't see why they move, but it's just that I take the view that democracy takes time to build, and that until we're able to have sustainable parties that can be pan-Nigeria, that can compete with themselves, we'll just be limping. And that's exactly what it is. I know the way to PDP, APC if I want to, but I am in PDP and I'm very much committed to the party.
Well, while
Thank you.
you're staying put, many others are taking flight, but I'm sure we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that.
My first question for you is regards the recommendation by the Ugwuanyi committee, which is yet to be ratified, obviously, that the chairmanship should go to the north. What is your take on that and the perception that Atiku Abubakar is effectively excluded, if that's the case?
Let me answer the second one, then I come to the main one, which is the first question. A lot of people have asked, and a lot of comments have been made around this zoning thing and how it affects His Excellency Atiku Abubakar. I tell you this, we have never imagined that Atiku Abubakar is a sectional candidate, not at any point in his life. He started his politics when the politics was still pan-Nigerian to some extent, when the likes of Abiola could even win election in the north. That's when Atiku has been here. Atiku runs underneath a mentorship of Segun Sowunmi, who believes that one of the problems of the First Republic politics was it was damn too tribal and it didn't allow national growth. And therefore, they've been trying to build that bridge across the Niger. And he has consistently stayed on message. Therefore, the Constitution of Nigeria, first of all, allows anybody that is very committed to an agenda that he believes in and is not excluded by any of the clauses of the Constitution to contest. So Atiku is going to take a decision on trying to be president, trying to rescue Nigeria. It doesn't matter what anybody is saying concerning zoning. Also add very quickly, zoning is an administrative suggestion by a political party. It is not justiciable because no part of a party constitution can override the fundamental rights that has already been guaranteed by the Nigerian constitution. It will always be subjected to primaries. And in any case, even the 1999 that people like to talk about, where Obasanjo succeeded and emerged as a candidate for the PDP, he had a very strong challenger in the former Vice President Alex Ekweme, and he won, just barely won that primaries in Jos. So what am I trying to say to you? We've never had a time when, even when we are signposting that we want to go left, we have ever excluded any other person who was very sure what his agenda was and was able to market him. So on that, I will say clearly to all Nigerians, Atiku can never be perturbed, particularly by administrative convenience or political party. That said, the second thing that needs to be put on the table very quickly is that those governors who met, the zoning committee that met, we had assumed that by the way they were populated by other members of the party, that they were going to have some robustness in their decision-making process. We've never accepted, and we still struggle to say that a political party cannot be left only in the hands of 13 or 14 governors who are members, also leaders and governors of political party, because a political party is a big platform that contains a lot of other interests. For us to zone traditionally, zoning is always left for the elders of the party who understand where the country is, where we are going, and what we need to do. Also, when you want to zone, or when that committee was set up, there are two reports that predates that committee that I believe personally that they didn't really take into consideration. The first report was that when PDP and President Goodluck Jonathan lost the election in 2015, we set up the Kerimadu report or committee to go and look at what exactly should be the way forward for the party and making itself a sustainable platform in and out of government. And part of the recommendation of that committee was that, look, for the purpose of stability, positions must be zoned for 8-year terms. Why? Because the constitution of the party expressly guarantees party executive the right to a second term. And we wanted to remove that, lacuna that, okay, if somebody is entitled to go to a second term, are you going to zone it out? Are you going to zone him out of that right we have guaranteed for him?
Section 47.
Yeah, so we felt, let's have it for 8 years. Again, we also saw that when we win either governors or president, it's almost a sine qua non that they will try to go for a second term. And we didn't want this zoning conversation to always destabilize the party because of the emotions that go with it. He insisted in that report, rightly so, that it must be zoned for each other. That was not taken into consideration. When we did the 2019 election and the outcome was the outcome, we believe we won, we believe we're rigged, but history will take care of that sometimes when historians and journalists try to do the investigation journalism that can keep it in the archive of history that this was exactly what happened. We set up the Bala Mohammed Committee again, the present governor of Bauchi State. And the Bala Mohammed Committee, when they had gone around the country, spoken to all of the stakeholders within the party, who are not just the few people that are governor, they came to the conclusion that, look, the way the country is now and where we are now, it's best that we just leave it open perhaps as a sign to demonstrate that the People's Democratic Party of Nigeria has now evolved to the next level where competence, capability will drive how they take decisions. And that in doing so, we won't constantly be having the argument of, oh, exclusively is my turn, and therefore some best hands must be excluded. Now, if anybody be really qualified to do any of the offices or any of the jobs within the country, the person must be qualified enough to be pan-Nigerian to achieve it. Also, they didn't take into consideration. Now, the biggest issue we have with that report is this. If you cannot do equity on small things, you cannot be trusted to do equity on big things. As it stands today, all the political groupings, the 6 of them that we have in our country, all of them have produced chairmanship of PDP. In the build-up to the 2018 convention, you will remember that about 6 or 7 Southerners of Southwest extraction, Benga Daniel, Bode George, the Professor Adeniran, and co, all 3 there had, because all of the other zones have produced chairman except the Southwest. Some magic played out, the Southeast, the South-South retained it. Now that South-South man, which is Secondus who retained it, ordinarily is guaranteed to finish his tenure and is also guaranteed to try his luck at another tenure. So typically the chairmanship is in the South. For reasons best known to those who wanted to bring the exit date of Secondus forward, we have found ourselves in a situation where we are managing to do another convention. Ideally, we should have maintained that this zoning of the chairman remains in the South. For if you will be smart to say, oh, we want to take the zone chairmanship to the North, thereby excluding the Southwest, and then be saying, oh, we have not talked about the presidency, we're going to leave it open, then you could have been smart enough to say, okay, we're at the point where the chairmanship is open, everything is open, let the best man win. But they didn't do that. And therefore, those who are really not happy about it are voicing out. But as far as Atiku is concerned, Atiku is more about consensus building. Because Atiku understands that any man can sit on a chair. If you don't build enough significant consensus to make the country or the party united, you're still going to be struggling. You can see what's happening with Muhammadu Buhari. Quite a lot of people who know the president privately and who know him before that will tell you that ordinarily he's meant to be a good president. But inability to build consensus, the big ideas in the country has created for us now a bigger problem, where the country is now so divided. You now have a situation where Governors Forum South to speak, then Governors Forum North to say. That's not the country we know, and that's not the country we want.
Okay, so let's talk about the political layering. What is obviously happening here? Reports in the media are saying that your team, and I mean the Atiku Abubakar team, is trying as much as possible to get Uche Secondus back in the seat because they know it will tilt towards them. That's the report in the media. That's what is happening. Secondly, there's also the case of blocks in the PDP. Umar Sani was here on the show yesterday. He talked about blocks. He talked about the fact that it was going to tilt, the primary in 2019 in Port Harcourt was going to tilt towards Governor of Sokoto, and then somebody came representing the Kaduna block, that's top military officers, and said, the block says it should be for Atiku Abubakar. And that was what tilted the balance. And it's not about money, really. What's your take on those 2 things? Are you guys trying to keep Secondus in seats and probably make him retain his seat so that by so doing, there's a gentleman's agreement, although not justiciable, but there's a gentleman's agreement that says if Uche Secondus or anybody from the South is on that seat, then definitely presidency will go to Atiku Abubakar again.
It's actually a constitutional matter.
Yeah.
Section 7 of the PDP Constitution.
Yeah. Well, let me put it this way. When the Secondus matter was raging, I was also invited here by one of the Sunday edition of this same program. And at that point, I had said that there are 3 things that must be considered. Does his going help the party? He has to take that decision by himself. Does staying help the party? He has to take the decision. And therefore, I was trying to communicate that. And I did say it clearly that, look, do not try to solve a minor inconvenience and create a bigger catastrophe. Those who are asking for Secondus to come back now are probably beginning to say that they do not like the concept or the idea of one individual, however powerful.
Who mentioned that individual?
Well, I think they are speculating that the individual sits atop Rivers State now as the governor of Rivers State in the person of Nyesom Wike. They're feeling that there's too much of a management to an answer. since Secondus came and he also didn't say he didn't bring and all that. So, but our view is this. We are not any one of those group of people who interferes with court cases. We've never done so. If we have ever won court cases on that, if Atiku has ever won court cases, he had won it on the pleadings before the judges. And even when he has lost and has accepted the loss as being the consequence of once a judge speaks, it has to be final. Otherwise, you undermine the integrity of the judiciary in the country. So we're not into that. What happens in politics is that once something happens, people begin to list all sorts of coloration to what is happening, what they think will happen, what will happen. But I tell you frontally, Atiku is more about saying to himself that, look, let us be careful that we do not implode the party. And he's reaching out to stakeholders to say, gentlemen, it's not always half empty. Sometimes you can look at it as half full. Every little irritation that does not meet your expectation does not need for you to pull down the roof. What we must be interested in is a process that is fair, it's a process that is equitable, it's a process that is transparent. And if we cannot do transparency within the party, then we lose the moral high ground to scream about transparency at the national level when you are contending with bigger issues in government. As far as this matter is concerned, it is those of us from the Southwest, people like me and a lot of Southwest leaders who are saying to ourselves, there are two challenges we see here. Challenge number one, will we remain in a political party that constantly schemes us out of what everybody knows we can do? It will be foolhardy to say we can't find people that can be chairman of PDP in the Southwest. We don't like that. We didn't like that the last time. We stayed by it and we struggled to keep it, and we're not going to like it this time. A lot of our leaders consider it unacceptable because the party may end up being weaker here. The second thing we are also seeing here is that we are of the view that those who gave us the 6 administrative blocks in the country, Northwest, Northeast, North Central, Southwest, Southeast, South, they did it for national cohesion. And that there is a hypocrisy that we are seeing on the table. We tend to speak about not being just one zone and speak about South being 3 zones. Whereas in reality, the South has 3 zones just as much as the North has 3 zones. And of the 6 zones in the country, 3 of them in democracy, the 1999 version of it, have not been given an opportunity to produce precedent. In the South, the Southeast has not. In the North Central has not, and certainly the Northeast has not. And we're saying that with all of the issues in the country now, over and above even all these cat fights around zoning, where would the president come, who should be the president, trying to skim people out and work to an answer that is not easy to achieve, we're saying that it's time for us to look at the country and probably begin to now, promote merit and begin to slowly but gradually remove this favoritism that creates an inability to get competent hands to try. Sometimes you don't even have to win. You just have to have the impression that there is no glass ceiling on your head.
What I'm hearing is that now that you're putting merit on the table, when a lot of people argue that presidents should go to the South, what I'm hearing that Atiku Abubakar, from you, my inference is interested and is doing everything to get the presidential ticket of the PDP.
I've asked Atiku this question a couple of times.
Is he interested?
I've asked him a couple of times. Look, Mr. President, Mr. Vice President, why do you want to be president? You know what he says to me? On my honor, cross my heart today. He will always tell me that, Segun, you know what? I've gotten to a point in my life where I keep telling myself when I pray, God, you have been so kind to me. You have given me more than I can ever ask. I want to serve this country, but if you're not going to let me, do well at it, I'm not going to begrudge you for it. It is those of us who understand that the country is so divided. You need someone to pull it apart, pull it together. You need someone that can hit the ground running. You need someone that can, call the teams from wherever they may be in the country and bring them up. You need somebody that understands and get the restructuring conversation without needing to be pleaded with. You need someone that understands how to exit debt. You need someone that knows how to grow the economy. You need someone that knows how to calm free nerves. It's those of us who feel that way, that believe that, no, Atiku, you may have been preserved all your life, including all of the disappointment, the rot, the warts and everything for this period. And therefore, you cannot shy away from repairing the things that your generation created.
Okay. Segun, I see. It's good to see you.
It's always good to see you too.
Remaining loyal to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar and promoting him as, a possible candidate for 2023. But if he doesn't get the ticket, if he doesn't win the nomination, are there persons in the southern part of Nigeria that you would, support? Yesterday, this day had a story front page about persons, with absolute resolve within the PDP to take over the presidency of Nigeria if they are allowed to do so. And the newspaper was very clear about their credentials. That's the first question. The second question is, I read some things on social media about you saying you want to be governor of Ogun State. Yeah, and I disagreed with some of the things you said about Governor Dapo Abiodun. I think he's doing well. I think he has done well. I think he's in a position to do more. We don't belong to the same political party. And I think that, he deserves a second term. But you don't think so. You were criticizing him. And then, of course, you didn't tell me you were going that way. And you and I are from the same household.
Yes.
From the same ward. From the same community.
Yes, let me say very quickly, Doctor.
No, I don't want you to criticize that.
No, I will not.
I just brought that up as a family matter.
I know.
Let's start with the PDP part.
I'll tell you this. The People's Democratic Party of Nigeria has been as pan-Nigerian as anybody can be. And therefore, it is foolhardy to say there are no persons that can try. But the nature of political contest, it's like the Olympics. You have to run the primaries or the trials, and then you have to be given an opportunity to run in the race. We haven't really seen anybody from the southern part who have indicated, not people saying indicating on their behalf. We have only seen people in the northern part. Among the people we've seen in the northern part, without the doubt, is Atiku Abubakar, big on the blog, big on the title anytime. We have seen Bukola Saraki. People have been doing a lot. Young people have been milling around him. We have seen Tambuwal. We have even seen Bala Mohammed, who is also saying, I could be. In the south, we have tried the hardest to prompt Peter Obi that, look, dude, if you had been president, if you had won, you would have been vice president. There's something we saw. Please, if you want to be president, say it clearly. We haven't heard anybody. And the presidency of Nigeria at this material time is not the load that every kindergarten can carry. These things yield to a whole lot more. And on the Ogun matter, a lot of people have heard, we were brothers. I've been there forever. And people have been saying to me that, Segun, why don't you want to be governor? And I always say to them, the governorship of a state for me is no longer a garland, because the way the concern of the country is structured, I even can hardly see them bringing disruptive ideas to build something bigger than the ordinary. And that which you call criticism of Dapo Abiodun, with profound respect to him. No, all I keep saying to him is, dude, Lagos is in the belly of Ogun. You must think differently. It's not going to be enough for you to tell me you're doing Subeb project and all of those things that everybody can do, including a level 13 civil servant who can run that. And Dr. Abati, with profound respect, we brought you forward to come and be a deputy governorship candidate. I would almost hang myself if what you're saying to me on air is that if you had been a heartbeat away from governor in Ogun State, you will not do better or try to disrupt or create bigger things for the state, other than take the Subeb money and be painting the roof yellow for photo sense. We lost the election together. Yeah. But I'm saying that on the basis of vision, we will not allow those who have won to just pussyfoot throughout the whole campaign, finish the whole 4 years and be asking ourselves, what happened to us is all gone. Lagos did not become Lagos because their chief executive were not imaginative. Kaduna is doing things that I can see in spite of the thing. Right now, Akwa Ibom is the number one thing that I'm saying, dude, this guy is up to something. I see what Delta is doing. Will I not want to see what my state is doing with his nexus to Lagos? So it's not about criticizing him. They just have a very poor attitude to criticism. And therefore, when they do that, I return like for like.
I have a different opinion.
I understand.
I think that Abiodun is doing very well. But Tundu, maybe you rescue me.
He's doing extremely well.
Can you rescue me from this?
He's doing extremely well. I'm not saying that he's not paying their salaries. I'm saying that, look, we're going into a situation in the country where 98 or 90% of the money will be used to pay debt. I can't accept that you're dropping IGR and you're doing well. I can't accept that. We're getting to the point where we were like number 3 ease of doing business. We're falling to number 19. That's not doing well for me.
Can you comment?
Nobody can rescue you. You brought this on yourself, so let's just deal with it.
No.
Now, you are from Ogun State. You recall that in the whole of the states in the Southwest, until the last administration, our state capital, our home state, was so, rusty compared to even the other ones around us. But someone came. He followed a rebuilding and a re-imaging agenda, and we now have like a circular round road there. It's something. What we're saying is that, hey, dude, time waits for no one. You need to bring in the big envelope projects that will let us understand that you're thinking of how to make Ogun leapfrog. We need to see what you're doing with tourism. We need to see what you're doing with the economic summit. But if you want to be, if you really want to pamper him, Dr. Abati, come on. You have the right to do so.
I'm not pampering him. I'm being very objective and neutral in this matter.
I am as neutral can be. I'm even encouraging him. It's our state.
I'm just asking,
it's really an Abeokuta matter this morning.
That intervention, and I hope you succeed with your gubernatorial
I'll be coming over to you when I finally, if I do get the ticket, I'll be coming to come. You now have to come and campaign for me like I did for you.
Anyway, no problem. But it's fine. I think that Paving is doing very well. That's my position.
I agree. You're entitled to that.
Yes. Okay, Tundun, can you just rescue us right now?
Don't rescue him yet.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. It's always nice to see you guys. Thank you very much for having me. We will have a responsibility as the media to set the agenda. A spokesperson must constantly nudge them to do even better.
Right.